lights on?
Yep.
Yep.
Good deal. All right, I'm showing 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started with the meeting. First order of business is to approve the minutes from September 8th. Has everybody had a chance to read and look over? And I have a motion to approve.
Yeah, I make a motion we approve the minutes from previous meeting.
Second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, we need to open up the public hearing regarding the amendment to the zoning ordinance to include duplex standards. Are there any public comments? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to go ahead and close the public hearing?
Yeah, I make a motion we close the public hearing on the zoning ordinance to include the duplex standards.
A second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Public hearing is closed. Second order would be the 2026 budget adoption. And that ordinance number 2025-9. Everybody had a chance to read over it, and
Mm-hmm.
I have a motion to accept it.
I'll make a motion, we allow the acceptance of the 2026 budget adoption as presented.
I second that.
And I'll stay abstained from that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Ordinance 2025-9.
Yeah, if everybody could sign their copy that I gave you. Does he have to abstain from the whole? I just thought just the only had to abstain from the fire department. No, it's the whole thing. Yeah.
Old business, planning and zoning, zoning violation, nuisance ordinance updates. John?
On the residents of 29 East High, I just did last week, delivered that notice to the door. I had not heard back from them. That's only been a few days ago. So I don't know if you want me to wait a while on to see if I hear something back on that, and then.
Yeah, that was just on the building permit, right?
On the building
expired.
permit, that's correct. It's expired. They haven't finished. They haven't reapplied for it. I hadn't heard back from either. Let's see. What else? Okay, on the demolitions, I spoke last month about they was in the process at 54 East North Street. The North Spencer School Board bought that. They have demolished and cleaned up that lot and seeded it, I believe, as of today. So that one is completed. And then on Locust Street, we had the other property there that the landowner removed on his own mobile home there. And as of today on High Street, the home that was burnt was the contractor moved in and crunched it up. He said he couldn't get his temperatures and stuff till tomorrow, so but he was preparing for that. So all of them are, and that wasn't no zoning action on that one. That was just somebody coming back for a reapply for a new home. So that's really all I had on them. Zoning, we do have a few mowing notices out on 3 locations. We'll be trying to get done this week. It'll be like Thursday or Friday.
Okay. Also, I have received a few complaints on 11 East Market Street. we're gonna need to start looking into, um, open structure. It's been open for extended amount of time. There's also, some, trying to think of what else there. The main thing was the open structure part of it. I'm not sure if they've been doing, we're gonna do renovations or exactly what all is going on there, but that's been brought to my attention, and I think we're gonna have to end up moving forward with doing something on that. Do, do you feel like that would qualify like as unsafe structure on that, John, or?
Yeah, I think that does fall under when you got open structures that in need of repair and have open windows or doors accessible. You know, at least from the first floor. I don't know if second floor would qualify for that, but the first floor definitely. And they,
You've told them in the past,
yes,
to secure that,
Yeah.
and I think they have done some, but then now it's back open again.
that is correct.
Yeah.
I'd say that probably the next step would be a formal letter or a notice of that's not a but notice of violation for that. I'd say would be probably the next mode.
Do we need to maybe get, I mean, isn't that getting the building inspector in there to look?
Structure, maybe. I
Okay.
question how sound that structure is, really.
Okay. Is that what the council wants to do?
I think that, I mean, if we've got the right to have the inspector do a report, I mean, I think that's gonna be our safest and thing, yeah, I mean, I'll make the motion that we go ahead and contact the building inspector to have that done.
1 second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none?
You said that is 11 each time.
Yeah.
Mark, excuse me. Yeah. I had high on the brain. That's good.
And then that High Street address that we had the complaints on last meeting, when I drove by, I mean, they done quite a bit of yard cleanup and
They're
stuff.
still
like
there,
that.
yeah, they're
I
definitely
mean,
improving.
Yeah, I mean,
they're working on it, so I mean, I don't think
Is
we
that
need
the
to.
29 that you were talking about, a different one?
No.
Kennedy, right?
No, actually, it's on High Street, but it's further down. I have the number of it, eludes me. It's probably 100 and something. It's
midway down.
in the next block.
I just didn't know if it was.
Yeah, it's not the same as the 29.
Is there anything else we need to discuss as far as planning and zoning?
It's 29. No.
No,
So that's a
Yeah,
red.
it's okay with you.
I don't think there was an address. Yeah, at the last meeting, there was an address discussed. It was
Just
the first house south of.
I just wanted to make sure that one wasn't
Okay.
making progress. I'm not gonna necessarily cite the location. Other than,
All right, wastewater project. Is there any updates with that, John?
Some, the Commonwealth had their guys start Thursday on smoke testing. But we've got about half a day in. It's having issues with their smoke machine, so they had to stop and go back. I spoke with their inspector this evening. He anticipates being back Wednesday if we don't go in just to rain. You know, instead of getting much rain, well, it won't be back, of course, for that. But they did find, in that time we got to work, they did find 3 lateral services, which will be the individuals to deal with as we get a complete report. But we haven't found any other big smoking guns or nothing there. But that was a very small section. So, I mean, maybe 20% or 15% we've covered in that, you know, but that's 3
Broken laterals or?
yeah, laterals that one of them, I'm pretty sure they don't have no proper capping or something on it, and the other 2 are active to homes that will have to have probably some new line or something put in. I don't know what the status will be till they
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, as far as, and they have not come back yet to do the, follow up on the manhole inspections. And on that sewer project, I don't know if you want me to touch base on that. We did get 2 quotes, but was informed we need a 3rd quote. And it wasn't in from time for me tonight, for the, cameras. We're hoping to possibly purchase if approved. And that's saying that because, since our last meeting, there's been a little bit of, holdback, they feel like, on some of the, so they want to make sure we get 3 quotes, get them in, and state revolving fund loan doesn't see an issue before. But if we could get the 3rd quote in for November's meeting, that'd be great. And that way we can at least, if the council is agreeable, get it okayed and then get the funding okayed through state revolving fund loan to go ahead with that.
All right. Is that it on wastewater?
That's it.
Okay. Community crossings.
Community crossings, as you've probably seen, all their paving's done, and they've got the sidewalks parts were done before the paving actually, and then thermoplastic marking the right of way. So, and they've done our additional work that we had as well. So they are completed. And know that they build. We may have to get a little bit different building on some of it. Again,
They lump it all together whenever they build it, so we'll have them to possibly break it out because we have to report back to the state on the money that we received for the communities crossings grant. So we're going to work with Drew and get all that worked out and submit that paperwork, the final paperwork to them.
And I did speak with Drew today, and he wasn't quite aware the bill come through, so I don't know. I thought he was in on that.
Yeah.
But he said I had such a backlog of, plus he was out for a few days, so
Okay.
he said I may not got back for enough.
Yeah.
So.
And our additional appropriation was approved by the LGF, so all is good there for that additional work.
Next up would be the gas rate utility study.
Yeah, so I gave everybody a copy of the a preliminary study from Pat Kelly, a rate consultant. This is just a draft. He wanted to, he's requesting that we take a look at it and then schedule a call with him. He wanted to run some numbers again, just to be sure. He's on vacation this week. But would like for you all to take a look at it and then maybe schedule a call with him next week. So I wanted to make sure you had a copy. Got a hard copy here, and then I emailed it to you. So better if you have a paper copy, I think. So just take a look at it and then get with me later to let me know what day works best for you guys. Okay.
Sounds good. Just wait till we're able to have that meeting with Kenneth.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and move on to new business. Guess Mr. Fender, would you care to take the floor again?
Sure, absolutely. Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Graham. Is there a certain spot I'm supposed to be standing?
No, you can stand right here.
Okay.
You can sit there. Yeah.
But there, well, I did, whatever, however. Anyway, I just want to, for the people at home, just to introduce myself. I've been our state senator for District 48 for a year now. That's Gibson, Pike, DuBois, Spencer, Gray, and Crawford counties. Before that, I was on the DuBois County Council for a few years. As some of you know, I grew up on a farm in Pike County, graduated Pike Central, left, went to college, worked for United Parcel Service for a number of years in management, and back in 92, my mom died of breast cancer when she turned 50, so met a gal, we decided we were going to get married, quit our job, moved back, started farming, raised a family, and been here ever since, and then this opportunity presented itself, so just want to be a megaphone for 140,000 people. So first section was a very active session with all the property tax changes, Senate Bill 1. I guess I'll give you a little background of that and then the things that we did moving forward. Back in 2023, April of 23, after the 23 budget session, Indiana's on a biannual budget, so every 2 years we have a budget. 23, and then we just went through the budget cycle in 25. So in 2023, they started interim study committees studying our property tax system because even back then, property taxes were going up, 15, 20, 25, 30%. So they, um, so after 2 years of studying, they've initiated basically a 7-year plan, starting now to try to accomplish three things. It's driving delivery decision making, more decision making control to us at the local level, simplicity and transparency of our property tax system. Right now it's, when you're going, you might have to do 18 different calculations to figure out what your deductions and things are. So that was it. Those were the three things. So,
What was the third? Simplicity, transparency, and
delivery decisions that
Delivery
belongs to
decision.
it was always first, and then it's simplicity and transparency. So as we move forward, the deductions, all the individualized deductions, a lot of those are going to go away, and it'll show. Not all of them are going to go away, but this one talks about who's your veterans and the elderly. There will be some deductions that stay. For the most part, the individualized deductions will go away, and they'll come back in the form of a credit for seniors and veterans. The rest of the deductions that disappear, here's where the simplicity comes in. If you have, and that will be all these things I'm talking about right now will be in this pamphlet. We created, after there was so much confusion after the session was over with, I had those guys, I couldn't create anything next week, but I had them, all changes, we tried to incorporate all Senate Bill 1 changes in there, the effects and explains. But anyway, so look at it like everybody's familiar with the 1% and 2% and 3% cap people. So the 1% cap people, that would be your homesteads and your homes. If your home's assessed at $150,000, it's your assessed value. Okay. By the time we get to year 7, that's on the second page in your how to transition to year 7. It'll basically be a 2/3 deduction, deducting 2/3 of your assessed value. So tax rate times 1/3 of your assessed value. Okay. The 2% people, which will be, land, apartment complexes, things like that, they will end up with a 1/3 assessed value deduction. So they'll end up, take 1/3 of your AV off, 2/3 of your assessed value times tax rate. 3% cap people will pay 100% of the assessed value. Okay. So that's where the simplicity and transparency, where we can really understand what's going on. The property tax reductions, in my opinion, are modest. When Senate Bill 1 started out, it was pretty drastic cuts to local governments, to schools. So I had two choices. I could either put my head in the sand as a freshman and just be quiet and just take whatever came my way, or get involved and make it the best bill possible. And that's what I chose to do. I ended up supporting it. Got a lot of flack for supporting Senate Bill 1, but I thought we found some good common ground. There's some things that need to be tweaked, and it's not accidental that most of these changes don't happen until 2028. We've got time to reflect and react and take care of any unintended consequences. Actually, about a month ago, the people that were on the budget committee, the architects behind this study committee back in 23, they've already been trying to tweak some things and change some things to make some improvements. So, is that rain? Oh, I'm sorry. I was so serious. So, but anyway, so moving forward, there was not a goal of changing where our property taxes, where our taxes are changing how they're collected as far as shifting from property taxes to income. Back in 2015, the state income tax was 3.4%. And in 2027, when these take effect, our state income tax will be 2.9%. So over that time, over that 12 years, there's been a 0.5% of reduction from 3.4 to 2.9 in state income tax. Okay. Now, people are clamoring for the property tax relief, so it's modest tax relief. The first goal was for people to look and if there was any ways as local government we could find efficiencies. That was the first goal. If not, delivering decisions to the local level portion is between the excise and wheel tax and the local income tax, utilizing those as tools for us if the property tax revenues are down and you needed something to fill in the gaps to bridge, revenue. Well, the 0.5% that is not being collected at the state, now and I'm not saying that you need a 0.5% or anything like that, but the ability is there then for us as local governments to utilize the local income tax, and we're making the decisions. We're more nimble and can be flexible. And I would rather us have the opportunity to do that as opposed to the federal and state government collecting our money and telling us how to spend it. Okay, so even if we end up, somebody raises, you end up having to raise local income tax a tenth or whatever, it's a net reduction, but we're just going to collect it here at the local level instead of collecting it at the state level. That's a big thing that we'll have the flexibility to do. You guys are below 3,500. So at this point, the way that came out, every municipality above 3,500 or above in population had the ability to create their own municipal local income tax. Okay. Under 3,500, that will still be administered at the county council level. Okay. Details are being worked out on, how that all looks. You guys you're a little unique. Spencer County has the lowest local income tax in the state, tax rate in the state. Okay, so you guys will be working together with the county council to develop that. And at this point, you have no idea what your local income tax base is. Those are the numbers that have not been tracked. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So you know exactly what that is. If you would raise 0.1% on people in the municipality, you really don't know what that number is. Department of Revenue on the 2025 tax returns collected here in 2026, they're starting to record that. In other words, that income by address. So then you guys ultimately then will have the data to know what the effects would be if you choose to do that. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, that's the big thing. That big set as we move through this 7-year plan, and a lot of that's in there. It's just simplicity, transparency. Kathy, you're thinking.
So they couldn't do anything. They would have to go to the county council.
It works through the county council right now.
Because of the population.
Right now, 0.8% is what the county is collecting in. And forgive me, I don't remember the breakdown of exactly where that goes. But there will be the county council, and I think that is in one of these. That's in one of these handouts. I'm not sure, but I don't exactly know where I know where to look here on my paper. Right now, the county will be able to have up to 1.7% local income tax. Right now, it's like 0.8%. Okay, and of that, up to 1.2% can be for county general purpose. It's in there somewhere, but it's not. I don't know exactly where to look, but also, and if you want to write that down, 1.2% will be for county general purpose, meaning, for the county, a multitude of things can go in there. Up to 0.4% for fire protection and EMS, up to 0.2% for township libraries and special units, and then up to 0.3% for property tax relief. And I can get these numbers to you later. Now, if you do the math, one of those numbers I just gave you is 1.9%. So you can't max those all out at the 1.7%. Okay. Then the cities and towns can do up to 1.2% local income tax. Now, this is gonna be, and there's still some things being worked out, but you're gonna be working through the county council, so it's totally, they can retain up to 3/4 of that, okay? So if the county is providing ambulances or however, every county is different, so I can't speak to that. So there's a lot of stuff that's gonna have to be worked out and worked together. But, if the county is collecting from all of the residents for ambulance and, and sheriff's department, things like that, this will be where you guys will work together. It's actually, some people are concerned because the county's in charge, would be technically in charge. You have to work together. It's a lot more flexibility than what we had before. Okay, so, and if there are people that don't, some councils or town councils are worried about if the councils will work in good faith with each other. If that doesn't happen, then obviously we'll have to get involved to rectify those situations. How about that? But the goal is to give us more flexibility as local government. If you guys have clamoring something here in town or the county councils that people are wanting, they're needing more services, whatever that may be, whatever, if it's police, if it's more roads, the roads, they want more done for the roads. Well, you can raise it a 1/10%, of a local income tax to collect revenue to solve those problems. Okay. Same way on the other side of this, if people are wanting relief and saying we're being taxed to death, we want a 10th off, and you guys can say, okay, we're gonna reduce our local income tax by 1/10%. Here's what we're gonna have to do. Instead of paying 25 miles of roads, we're gonna pay 15 miles of road. These 10 miles we were planning on doing, or 10 streets, or whatever the case may be, we're gonna push those off for another year, and that's how we're more nimble, and we're able to take care of ourselves. That's part of the delivering the decisions to us locally. I think it's going to be a really good thing. There's still concern, and there's bugs, and there's things we have to work out, but that's why most of the things don't take effect till 2028.
So the local, if it's a local income tax, if I'm understanding right, that each, this township, they might have more income in their town versus this income in this town. So the 10th is more over there than it is over here.
Well, you guys have the flexibility as a municipality versus the townships aren't going to be able to enact local income taxes themselves. It's going to be the municipalities and the county. And it's hard to say because if you guys want to continue to, the county, if you don't want, I have no interest in doing anything with local income tax, the county can still, we can keep it, nothing has to change. It can stay where it is. It gives us the options and the flexibility to do what we want to do. Okay, if the system's working good with the county, and nothing has to be changed. That's what we decide as locals.
But we're also still waiting to see what our property tax deduction, what those numbers are. We don't know
for 2026
or in the way in the future that's.
Well, that was income tax that I was talking about there. And then once they start collecting the data, the Department of Revenue, when we do the 2025 tax returns, that's when we're going to start having the data for the local income tax.
I was just thinking if we lose revenue from tax relief, property tax relief, am I saying that right?
Yes. Okay, yes.
If we lose that, then we might need to make it up with this LIT. Am I saying that right?
The property tax relief is a function of lit a lot of times. Okay. I don't know exactly where it's at, but a lot of counties, if they've got, there's other counties real close to you that are like 1.2%. Mm-hmm. And of that 1.2%, they might have 0.4% of local income tax that is used for property tax relief. Okay, you guys will have that. That's still an option for the county, if need be.
but we don't quite know what that number is. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is once this bill,
This is Senate Bill 1 is now Senator Murphy said,
It's,
Senate Bill 1 is now Senate Enrolled Act 1. So this is law.
it is.
And if we look and here, I borrow this one. This year, these are revenue, 2026, 27, 28 revenue projections. So if we look at Chrisney, okay, go back to the Spencer County and then you see Chrisney Civil Town. I've never sat down in a council table before. Anyway, so if you look down, everybody finds Chrisney.
Yep.
Get there.
Okay, the very first column, and if I'm not, whenever you're looking at this at a later time, you have to go to the front page to get the headings across the top. And let's go across it. Chrisney, that's 71,343.
Right.
That should have been your property tax revenue from 2025. That should be what you received this year. Okay. If we would have continued with the increases of the property tax as is, pre-Senate Enrolled Act 1, your revenue for 2026 would have been 76,539, and then 27 would have been 80,000, and 28 would have been 85. Okay, now go to the next set of columns here. This will be actual. This is under Senate, the changes in Senate Enrolled Act 1. That's 72,939. That's what forecast to be your revenue for 2026. Okay.
3,500.
3,500, yes, roughly. Okay, roughly. Less than what it would have been if we'd kept if we'd kept raising the taxes. Okay, then over here, 76,883, and then 80 in 2028, 80,539. Okay, so and if you look at those numbers. And well, then let's continue on then. So the next set, that 1,596, that's the amount of revenue projected increase over 26 over 2025. Okay. Then if you go to that 3,904, that would be the 2027 projected increase. And then 3,696 would be 28. And if you look at the percentages on the far right column, 2.2%, 5.4, and 4.8. Basically, what's happened is if we would have continued to raise taxes, okay, just continued on at the normal rate, we had this growth. What has basically happened is that this year, we're not really seeing much growth. Okay, so just look at it like this. We basically just lowered this down and we're roughly around zero. And then we kind of continue on with the similar growth.
But I think the projections that they originally projected that so much of this was based on were incorrect.
We're incorrect.
Were incorrect.
No, what happened there's DLGF puts out multiple reports, and I'm starting to figure this all out. And this is one of my goals, and I've been working on this summer. And this is when I decided to get involved to do what I'm doing now, to be a megaphone for us, I wanted us to have more decision-making power. So there's one of the three things that I always talk about. That's one of the similarities, but also accountability and efficiency were my 2 and 3. Okay, instead of simplicity and transparency, it was accountability and efficiency of the unelected bureaucratic functions. Okay, up at the state, a lot of great people up there, but the system itself is not very efficient. Okay. And now, as I'm going through all these documents that I gave you guys, is I had some of our fiscal analysts create these documents, and then there's 6 of us at Sheriff Press Secretary, okay, 6 senators. So then I had the guy that I share, kind of creating these documents. Well, now as I go further and through the summer, I've realized that I recreated the wheel on a lot of things that are actually in DLGF, but nobody knows where to find it. So one of my goals, and I've already started talking with people, is figuring out ways, all that money that we're spending doing this research and this analysis of these, getting ready for these budgets, that I want to figure out a better way to keep us all informed. I think, do you get an email from Braden Searing, my assistant?
Nothing I know of.
Okay, well, I've got to work on that because we went with it, we went to AIM and tried to get everybody's email and where we could periodically send out information to everybody on the council, just trying to create a better information flow. So that's one of the things that I'm doing on the side is to get so we have all this information and so we have the tools that we need.
How's this simple?
Over here. It will be. Trust me, Kathy. It will be. It's a little bit. There's so many changes right now. That's why no one thinks that it's simpler. There's a lot of moving parts that are getting changed. But if we get to this where it's just we're involved, we're involved with the local income tax and involved in the property tax rates where it's just a 2/3 of your assessed value deduction and you're paying your tax rate times your third. It's a lot simpler than all the other.
But if they have to, if each of these towns have to answer to the council or have to go to the council, my fear is politics will play into it. If you're not,
Not
Um,
acting in
if
good
you're
faith.
not, no, if you're not the same political party, we're not gonna let you.
Well, we
We're
can
gonna,
do the same
we're
thing.
gonna
Yeah.
treat,
same
we're
as
gonna
what you're
treat the other people.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to say the same thing, but just a little lighter.
Oh, you're saying, yeah.
But no, but if that's a problem, then we'll have to address that. But
The other thing is, okay, you've got a whole bunch of Spencer County that isn't in a town, it's in a township. So like St. Minor's kind of a town, but there's no government.
It's not.
Well,
Yeah.
all those, where they have, who's watching out for them and how will things happen?
I don't exactly know the details on all this stuff. That's why they're continuing to meet, to eliminate unintended consequences. And that's why a lot of this stuff doesn't take effect until 2028.
Don't anybody think, I think he's doing a bad job, because I think he's working very hard
Yeah.
to try and make a bad thing better, but on one, I thought this has been a bad.
The county council does that right now, though, for them townships, really doesn't. I mean, aren't they the one?
Well, the townships get to have a voice now. I don't think they get to have a voice with this. They no longer.
Well, it doesn't change what's going on there. That would be something totally separate. Senate Bill 1 doesn't change what the townships are doing.
But it doesn't give them any tools either, does it? Like, they
won't not the income tax. You're right.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have that.
They won't have.
It's just another tool. The local income tax, and those are all tools. Ultimately, it's going to give us more. Now, it might be a little bit harder for the councils, getting rolling here because there's a lot of extra added responsibility, but with that's the privileges, and we're going to be able to, govern ourselves more. And I really do. I think
I guess one of the things I felt like, especially from talking to people in other places with the press, some places spend it an inordinate amount, and this is actually my favorite council to cover. I'll say that, and they can hear it on here because they always work hard to do what's right for their community. But I don't think that was always the case, and I think some of this stemmed from that.
absolutely.
And it's a bigger city, eventually.
And I would say this is, I'm going to go with your word that they're awesome. I know some of them here that I know they are. Most of us in rural Indiana are frugal and efficient and use common sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a trick because not everybody and not every municipality has been good faith actors, right? Not been fiscally responsible or whatever term you want to use. So that's the idea, to give people the tools that then they're also have the responsibility with it. So there's going to be some bugs. How about that? I guess I started talking about the confusion was this shows an increase in revenue year over year. the initial numbers that came out, we're talking about a reduction of the increase. So if you were gonna go up $5,000, you know, the numbers that AIM originally came out with, it's not AIM's fault, but one of the other forms that DLGF had would have said that, okay, Chrisney's losing $3,500. And most people were thinking, oh no, that's $3,500 reduction off of 25's numbers. Well, that was a reduction of the increase. So instead of going up 5, you're up 15, and you lost that potential unrealized revenue. That's where a lot of the confusions and things were. So there's going to be there's some bumps and some things, and to get everything to where it just goes smoothly for everybody, and because we're so different as between rural and larger cities. But I think it's going to give us the tools to be able to do better as we go forward. As much as I'm here trying to help explain things to you, I'm also here to listen. And you're just like, and it doesn't have to be now, but 6 months from now, and you guys can all have my cell phone number. If you don't have it, you got it, right?
I got it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I want you guys to call me, because that's why I'm running around here just meeting. My goal is by the end of the year, be at every county council, town council, or city council, in the district, just to have these same discussions, so we can move forward and make sure this turns out to be a good thing. If we talk about assessed value, but if we don't also rein in how the assessed value is figured and make sure it's uniform and administered across the board, we're doing all this for nothing. We're spinning our wheels, and we'll be in the same mess in 7 years from now that we kind of are now. That's me being honest. That's Daryl the farmer, Daryl the
Yes,
resident
And
customer.
I do firmly believe you are working as hard as you can to do the best job you can. I was sad to hear today of somebody in state that worked in the former governor's office and was still there, that got shunted out of there, and the person they brought in to replace got $65,000, is getting $65,000 more a year than he was getting, and he's been in state government for a very long time. And I think, I don't like to hear everybody supposed to tighten their belts in the rest of the state, and up in the governor's office, that's not happening. That's very disturbing to me.
Well, I can't address that.
You
because I really don't know what you're
I'm
talking.
just saying it. I'm just saying
Okay,
it
yeah.
because it's true. It's true.
Yeah,
And so some of those things,
here,
those of us down here trying to tighten our belts are
no, I get it.
and that's not you.
No, I know.
I know.
I'm not taking any. I'm not being offended.
Making a motion.
Here's what I'll say. We're just talking, just an honest, open dialogue. Obviously, nothing's perfect, but there's a lot of people. I was encouraged now after a year. There's more people, a greater percentage than I thought, trying to pull in the same direction that are wanting to do the right thing. It's just government in general is a little tricky. It's kind of cumbersome by design, so you can't overreact. I think you can look at the federal government, look at the executive branch, and look the way the pendulum swings. And now somebody will pick this up on YouTube, and I'll be a bad guy. I'll be a bad senator, whatever. But so it's hard because the legislative branch is a little more cumbersome and slow, but you're not going to make as many mistakes, and it's not going to swing as far. I want to, from being in the private sector, you try to apply all the private sector's philosophies and principles to government. If you see a problem, what are you going to do? You're going to identify the problem, come up with a solution. You're going to implement the solution. You're going to be done in 2 months or 6 months. Well, so you're going to go from 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
In government, it's almost like you have to be happy if you get from 1 to 4 the first year, and then you're going to work on the last 6 the next 2 years or something. But anyway, I'm actually encouraged. There's a lot of people, it's just a system that we have to work on a little bit. But
I didn't think it was broke.
okay.
Our state. I thought our state was doing pretty good.
We are doing really well. I could. There's so many things that we're doing, that we're doing well on,
I'm gonna shut my mouth too.
We're
and let you
sixth
guys
in,
finish
you know,
yours.
we're the sick, it's in math and in reading. I think we're up to number 6. Indiana's number 6, you know, in the country. You know, we just had a 5. We went from 82% to 87% on our iRead improvement, meaning third grade kids that are reading proficiently, literacy rates, you know, in third graders. Last year, we were 82% of third graders were reading proficient, you know, at an acceptable rate. In 1 year, we jumped from 82 to 87%. Okay, so kudos to the teachers, kudos to a lot of different programs that they were trying to create. So that's 6,000 more kids, third graders in Indiana, are reading proficiently than they were the year before. So we've got a lot of good things. You know, our property tax system was like the 6th most cumbersome, complicated, hard to understand system. So we were on the other end on that. So that's part of the focus to simplify it down. But even though how we were so upset on how our property taxes were going up, it's amazing up in northwestern Indiana, the people that are rolling out of the state to the west and coming into Indiana, whatever, Chicago, you know, coming out of Illinois, going into northern Indiana, because no matter how bad we think our property taxes are, they're like half of what Illinois is. So we're, you know, we've got, we're good. Indiana is, you know, we balance our budget every year, right? We can't. That's why we had to trim $2 billion out of our projection whenever we were doing the budget. Where they were figuring a $400 million. They were figuring a revenue projections were coming out for 400. We were figuring a $400 million decrease first quarter 2024 compared to the first quarter 2025. Came out at 2.4 billion less. So everybody had cut time. This is just this was interesting here. Let me find this. Well, projected for 2026 growth, the entire state, local government as a whole, is projected to increase 1.6%. Okay, revenue. The state is projected to increase 0.88%. So half. Okay, that's revenue growth projections for 2026. For 2027, local governments are projected that their revenue growth will be 5.1%. State revenue growth will be 0.1%. You know, so everybody's tightening their belts a little bit on it. Now, here's what I wanted. Then while we're doing this, one thing I always like to talk about, this budget thing that I gave you, is this one here. This is just a lot of just for information to you guys, and I don't want to drag your meeting out. I'll just quit talking for a second. I get passionate about this, the numbers and stuff. And look at that pie chart there. We were talking about like K through 12 education. It's 47% of the state budget. Okay, a few years back, that was over 50%. Okay, and we're at that state tuition support, just like on our property tax cuts. So we got roughly 2/3 of the property tax. You know, we collect property taxes locally; they stay local. The state has nothing to do with, you know, with that. 2/3 that goes to the schools. Okay. The schools. So when we reduced property taxes, the schools took the bigger of the hit. Okay. Now, over the next 2 years, the property taxes go to facilities, normally buildings and stuff in schools locally. There's also what they call state tuition support. That's the amount of money that the state sends down to schools, which takes care of teacher salaries and things of that nature. So over the same 2 years where the property taxes are relief and it's hurting the schools, there's $960 million more coming to the schools in the 2-year budget. $340 million more, $340 million increase in 2025 to 2026, and another $620 million from 26 to 27. Okay. that was so whenever we had to get rid of $2 billion in the state budget, K through 12 was protected, but then everything else ended up taking, K through 12 and Medicaid was protected. And the other thing that's just interesting, just for perspective, if you look at the Medicaid budget there, it's 22%. You go back to 2019, right before COVID, our Medicaid budget was $5 billion. And it was roughly 9% of the budget. So as we move forward, when you hear people trying to figure out, ways to, when you cut Medicaid, Medicaid is, eating up a big percentage. It's not going to education and to other things. So that basically, we doubled the Medicaid budget in 5 years. So exactly where that's at is a good question. Some of it is, there are supposedly 36% of that are able-bodied adults from 19 to 64 that are not working, when COVID hit and all the, the changes happened, where there weren't jobs. So a lot of things were loosened up. So when you hear restrictions are happening, trying to just get back to where it was before. Yeah. But now, having said that, so, well, you hear a lot of people talking waste, fraud, and abuse. That's not necessarily just people that are on the system that shouldn't be. There's a lot of other things, that we're looking at. And I'm getting way off subject, but the healthcare industry, looking at hospitals and insurance companies, where people inherently, if the ability's there, they might take advantage of the system and utilize the system to your greatest benefit. How about that? So there's a lot of things. This is just for us as taxpayers and counselors. Just look through this, but that's one interesting chart in there. And I could sit and go on all day because this has turned into my passion. I love the numbers. And are there any other questions? What's that?
I think that was yours.
Yes, ma'am. The rest of the stuff is yours. Anyway, the only other thing that I get this here is just look through this tax and fiscal policy resource handbook. It's just a lot more information about taxes and sales taxes and property taxes, income taxes. And just an interesting thing just to finish, and then I'll if you got a couple of questions. But when we had that $2.4 billion shortfall in April, which that was basically January, February, March of 2024 compared to January, February, March of 2025. That $2.4 billion reduction, that was a combination of all the revenues, where there was sales tax, individual income tax, corporate income tax, everything tracked normal, except corporate income tax was down 25.9%. Not meaning that corporations weren't paying their fair share. That tells me that their profitability was down, their profits were down, as we're going through this cycle. That was the biggest, that was where the shortfall came, was from the corporate income tax revenue collected by the state. Anyway, I find that one interesting. And if you go back and you could look at any car lot, farm lot, ag lot, whatever, and there was empty, there was nothing. Well, now there's a lot of stuff sitting on those lots. So for whatever that means, just a different phase in the cycle. We're coming down off the COVID cycle, in my opinion.
I was going to say there's still effects of the COVID.
This is still all, one strike. We're like trying to catch our tail, if you will. But anyway, any questions on kind of that? I just wanted to come down and give you overall philosophy of where we're going to go on and how the plan is moving forward. So anytime you have questions, 631-3856 is myself. If you don't have it, I think most of you guys have it already. Reach out. We'll work through whatever happens. I imagine you have mine, yes. It doesn't change it ever.
It's one of the two presidential scholars from Indiana came from your district.
No, I did not see it. Oh, yes, I did. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Ella, Emily,
Ella.
Ella, okay, yes, yes. Yes, I did.
Point that out.
I haven't, I want to talk. That's pretty friendly.
Really sharp.
That's cool.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry if I drug it out too long.
No, we did.
Okay. I'll hang around afterwards too, if anybody has any questions. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, other new business, is there any utility updates, John?
I needed to mention that we're gonna be flushing hydrants. We're looking to start on October the 23rd. And that'll probably be a week or more because we've got other things coming in at the same time, but that's about the only place we can work it in. So we'll be off and on flushing from the 23rd of October. And like all of them, stirred water, be safe, but it's you're gonna see reduction in pressure points and times.
Utility adjustments,
Yeah, we had a couple of customers, with some leaks, this past month, so, just wanted to get approval. What we do is we average their bill and then the remainder will, adjust it down to our wholesale rate. I just wanna make sure that's still okay.
all right, is there any other business that needs to be brought forth?
We did get a what do you call it? A link that you asked for me to sign to send forward on that.
Yeah, so for the demolition from a couple of years ago, we got the paperwork together to certify that we basically went through the process. We gave them notice, they didn't pay, and then the assess for the auditor, we then have that as a special assessment. So I filled out a beta form, had John sign it, sent it to the auditor, and actually the auditor was like, we haven't done it this way before, so we're gonna call the county attorney and make sure we're putting it in right. By statute, it says you can add it as a special assessment.
Okay.
So I sent him statute that he needs it from the year. So I don't think it's been attached yet, but it's still in force.
It's a different property. Main Street.
It'll go with property tax bill, it's a special.
Property tax, but
And then for every time they don't pay it, I think it's the normal interest for not paying.
All right, is there any other business? Hearing none, upcoming events, we'll have the Chrisney trick or treat. The hours for that would be from 5 to 8 p.m. on the 31st. There'll be a trunk or treat on the 31st up at the park. And then also there'll be the Winter Fest is set for December 6th up there at the park golf course area.
I would like to ask if, to help with the cost of the things that they're gonna need for those, the trunk or treat and the Winter Fest, I was gonna ask if, we're partnering with the Civic Association, the Parks Board, and of course, the town of Chrisney, to donate, $100 for each event to help them with the supplies and costs of things that they need. I would like to make a, if you all could make a motion.
So make a motion, we allow the $100 for the organization mentioned to go for that.
Got a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Next meeting will be November 3rd at 7 p.m. Got a motion to close the meeting out?
I can do that.
All right. Meeting is adjourned.
You take the vote. You might take the vote.
All in favor?
Say no. I wanna go home.
I don't know if we're off yet.